the Prime Fitness Pec and Rear Delt Fly. This is a hybrid version. Okay, so up here we have our settings as far as resistance profile, and also moving these arms to train which muscle group we're trying to train. Okay, so first off with the arms, pecs are going to be on these first 3 dots up here. All right, first 3 holes. And then you're going to assess what your range of motion is depending on where you put that. Rear delts, you're going to slide these all the way back down. There's a 4, 5, and a 6 hole. Okay, so depending on your goal, what you're trying to target as far as resistance profile, things like that, you will set these up accordingly. All right, so rear delts, okay, here. Pecs are going to be more out here on the first 3. Okay, so once we have arms set up for the tissue we're trying to train, next up is choosing our resistance profile. Okay, so if we want to make this heavy in the stretch, right, at the beginning of the movement, we're going to set that on a 3. If we want it heavy in the mid-range, we're going to put that on a 1. And if we want it hard in the contraction, or if we're trying to squeeze our pecs together, then we're going to put that on a 2. Okay, so there are a few different ways that we can perform this movement to bias different pec fibers. Okay, so I'm going to start off with just the normal mid-sternal pec. Okay, so we're going to be more upright on the seat, all right, to target those fibers. The seat goes up and down, all right, so you can adjust on your body structure as to where you need to be. Okay, so if I'm working that mid-chest, all right, so right here will be my mid-chest. I will bring my hand out, all right, and I kind of know where my hand needs to be on the handles. Okay, so the cool thing about these handles too is they can push out and back, so you can get into the machine a little bit easier. So I can push this one out. That allows me to bring my other arm to the other side to get in a little bit more comfortably. Okay, so again, for mid-chest, all right, I want to limit my arch in the back, and I want to focus on keeping my arms. You can have soft elbows back here, or you can keep your arms straight, but the main thing to be concerned about is keeping our arms straight here in the short position. Okay, so to get a fully contracted pec, all right, we need to bring the bicep right into the chest. Okay, so if I have my arm straight, like right there, my bicep is right into my pec. That means it's shortened. If we were to allow elbow bend, or essentially I like to call it crabbing it, so if we're doing like this, my bicep isn't smashed into my chest. So I still have this much range of motion left, but I can't get there because now my hands are touching. So we're not getting a fully shortened pec. So something to be mindful of when you're executing this movement is to have your arms straight in that short position and really smashing your biceps into your pecs. So it's not about trying to get the handles or your hands to touch. It's more about bicep to pec. So if we go back to this sternal version or mid pec, okay, I'm going to be more upright. I like to do a thumbless grip on here. All right, and then I keep my arm straight into that short position and really squeeze. So you notice that my biceps are at my mid-chest here. I'll come back nice and controlled. Get whatever range of motion is comfortable for you. You don't have to get a huge stretch on these, especially if you're overloading it here in this short position, because this is where it's going to be hardest. And then it's going to get easy. All right. So this will be that mid-chest division. So if we wanted to target the upper pecs, what we would need to do is shift from that mid-chest and have our biceps come more towards under our chin. So to do that, we would need to lean forward slightly. So here at Next Generation Personal Training, we have these pads that we can throw onto the machine here. So Velcro, I like to wrap one around and then take another one, wrap around it. Okay. And now I can shift my hips all the way back into here, and I'm leaning forward. So now I can bring my biceps more towards my chin, okay? So again, you want this seat in a position to where you can actually slide your hips up under this pad, okay? If it's too high, you're not gonna be able to. And then you're essentially just moving your whole torso out, and then you're not in great alignment with the machine at that point. So again, we're gonna shove our hips all the way back and lean forward. So to demo that, one thing to consider with this machine too is it moves in a slight low to high path. So if I want my biceps to come up under my chin, I need to start with my hands a little bit lower because they will come up in this plane. If I start too high, I'm gonna come up and be in my face. So again, I like to have my hands all the way at the bottom of these handles for upper pec, all right? I slide my hips all the way back, all right? And then I'm leaning forward, my arms are straight, and I come into this contracted position where my biceps are basically under my chin, okay? Nice and controlled on the way back. Just like that. So now let's say we wanted to target our lower pecs. Well, now, instead of leaning forward or being more upright, we're gonna have to be leaning backwards, all right? So that's going to allow the biceps to come more towards our lower chest, okay? So these were utilized for upper pec. Now, to focus on that lower pec, I will bring my seat up just a little bit. But now, instead of sitting upright or having this lean forward, I'm actually going to shift my hips forward on the seat, and I'm going to be leaning back into the chest, or to the back pad, okay? So one thing for this is I want to keep my chest loud and proud. I don't want to be like hunkered over like this, because then my biceps actually aren't even going to my low pec. Now they're back at my mid chest, okay? So keep that chest loud and proud, all right? So I like to grab the handles here, okay? I like to shift my hips forward, all right, chest up and out. And then as I fly, all right, my pecs and biceps are in alignment, biceps at lower pecs, all right? So now I'm targeting more of that lower pec division. And I just want to emphasize the point of having our arms straight in this position and not crabbed. I'm doing this from the front view to kind of show you the differences in that, so you can kind of have a visual of what that would look like. So if I were to perform this the correct way, all right, I can have a slight bend in my elbows here, or I can have my arms straight. But either way, I want to come into this short position with my arms straight. So now I'm smashing my biceps into my pecs, okay? So that's a fully shortened pec. If I come back, straight arm, shortened pec. Now, if I was to do this in the crab version, or not as shortened pec, I'm going to come into this with a bent elbow, all right? And now my handles are touching, but my biceps aren't touching my pecs, which means I have a ton more shortening to get. So if we have this position, this is my end range, if I were to extend my arms out straight, you'll notice just how much more shortening I get with straight arms. So again, straighten my arm, you see my biceps come into my lower pec, okay? So again, it's so important to be able to execute the movement properly, especially for the goal that you're trying to target. So again, if you want that shortened pec, you need to maintain straightened arms in that short position.